Hello everyone, and welcome to a recorded session of Fleet Plays Transport Fever 2 Race to the North. So the plan is to try and record one of these and then have the lives go out on the Sunday. That is the plan, hopefully. So the plan now that we have a stable income is first to pay off the debt, then rapidly expand towards the so we're going to try and get to North Allerton if we can. That's a fairly short run. That'll bring us up to a 4-station main line. It also means I can tie in a branch probably to Scarborough to start feeding York and Selby food. Which I desperately want to do. Then we can start feeding wood to the York sawmill, then that to the tools factory, and then tools to York and North Allerton. So we have a plan. So that's what we're going to try and do. So the new model railway, with cash flow is now past 1 million. As you can see, our passenger line 2 with the rocket on it is really making money. But of course, let's forget, the age of the rockets is fairly short-lived. Only about a year as the frontline motive power of the network. Because, as you saw, no doubt, we actually have a lot of new motive power. In particular, a lot of new, significantly faster motive power. In the form of London-Manchester Railway. Planets. So for most of the services we want to run, the planets are fine. However, for the whole to for the whole service, you probably want something a bit more powerful. Basically owing to the fact that, well, we're working with an exceptionally lengthy run. Yeah, none of our passenger carriages can really break 32 miles an hour. So we are stuck with that. So in that case, then, we want the most powerful engine at around that speed bracket. So what have we got? So, the planets do 91 horsepower, 32 miles an hour, and have a track effort of 13 kilonewtons. The rocket-type engines, none of them actually come close at all. So in that case, then, given that we don't have any faster passenger coaches, the choice is really obvious here. So it's quite clear to me that the run from Leeds... Yes, it's quite clear that the run from Leeds to York is really getting much more popular. So we need to really make the most of that. So let's actually get that squared away with new rolling stock. It's a longer train, but the locos are slightly faster, and they do have more horsepower and tractive effort. And you'll notice it's not that expensive a proposition for us to actually do. On the flat main line, we can replace the older rockets with newer rockets that are significantly faster than the current ones. But we only have to carry the similar amount of people as the current rockets do, so it's much cheaper to do. Actually, okay, we can get 36. 36 is fine. We can do 36. That's fine. Behold, the birth of the modern railway. Now, of course, we haven't pulled any freight on the railway yet, which is ironically why the railways were founded, but we will eventually. So there we go, we're now able to pay off some of our debt. And that will pay us back by reducing the interest we pay on our debt. And that's exactly why that we have more people, because more people do want to actually ride the Hull to Selby Express. And of course we now have the regular runs northwards through York to Thirsk. So now we need to look at the replacement for these. So we don't want, given it's on the flat, and given passenger numbers, we want to keep the same amount of passenger numbers that we have currently. So the planets are the basically top of the line passenger engines we have right now, given the coaches we've got. So we want something of about the same speed, but we want it at about... There, that'll do. 31 miles an hour rather than 32, but it is significantly cheaper, which is exactly what we want. And it obviously fits quite well with these coaches here, which is exactly what we want. So a single first-class coach. So 2 first-class coaches. And we want about... I don't think we actually carry more than that, do we? No. Yeah, only on the section back down to Selby. So it's only a very limited part of the run when we need 26 capacity. Oh, never mind. So we'll try and go for 28 capacity in our replacement. But because it's on the flat, we can get away with having a rocket-type locomotive rather than a planet-type locomotive. But yeah, breaking 30 miles an hour, which is a new record. So yeah, the plan is to get this all spread and also try and link in Scarborough. Both probably by a mainline link into York. So go along here, through here, try and... Yeah, because I mean, that's definitely the path of least resistance through there, like that. Which I'm going to have to follow if I want to get through. I suppose I could burrow through, but I don't really have the cash reserves right now. That's fine. Yeah, we are suffering a little bit of a backlog here on the little, you know. So, yep, the passenger train line from York to and there we go. There's the Leeds run, bringing in the dough. Still a bit short on capital, but that's fine. I'm going to use our little bit of stored debt to push us over the limit and bring much faster motive power to the main line. Again, they're still rocket types, but they are significantly more powerful and slightly more modern rocket types. Okay, we can afford to put a signal back there. Just because that allows us to regulate the arrival and departure of trains much better. By allowing for that train to start its acceleration while this one is inbound. And hopefully, if I've timed it right, which I think I have, that train should still be accelerating when this one pulls in and is clear of the main line. Yep, there it is. Perfect. And, oh, hang on. Is that what I think it is? Yes, there he is. Driver Jeff has arrived. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the railway. Hope you're having a good time, Jeff. Lovely to see you. It's nice to have Jeff back in charge of the engines. Although here we have Top Hat Terry. In charge of the planets. Yeah, cash flow's got up massively now that we've increased the speed of the York to... both the speed and the capacity of the York to... Not York, sorry, the Hull to Selby run. There we go. Okay, yeah, we can dramatically reduce the... Oh yeah, we could dramatically reduce the scale of the Thirsk buses. We don't need them to be that big. That's fine. And I'll bring us some cash back, and it'll also save us some money on running costs, which means cash flow goes up yet further, which is what we want exactly. It does feel weird having the single track station at Thirsk be the end of the line, but well, that's where the end of the line is for now. And there it is. And again, the same thing. Just as that train is leaving, this one comes in, clears the signal, and boom, there you go. Then this one pulls away from Thirsk. I'm waiting for cash flow right now. That's what we're waiting for. So we can start doing this. Put some money away. Because basically, you need that money banked so you can actually take the hit of actually doing the investment to bring in more capital. So I've got two choices for what happens first. I can either set up a freight-only line from York Forest to York Sawmill, and then a line that shares a little bit of trackage with our main line to York Tools Factory, and then from York Tools Factory have a fast freight train run or build a line parallel to our main lines, which is a freight line that carries the freight trains to Hull, which is one of the options I have. Or with the money I can build, then again I'm looking at Scarborough. That's a very rubbish terrain to have a railway station at this point in the game. It's not really what I'm sure I want, if I'm honest. If I'm completely honest here. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing, innit? It's the terrain. Up to now, apart from a little bit of a problem with, running into Whitby, we've had it fairly good. And of course, the passenger service has been very good indeed. I mean, look at the amount of profit we're making now. Look at the amount of money we're banking away. Well, I mean, we've already got the one part of the logistical network set up. If I'm going to build a Scarborough food, I'm going to build a Scarborough. And the problem is, I mean, look at the cost of even putting a single track. Since I'm determined to have, a mainline station here at Scarborough. Look at the cost of even putting a single track. It's $500,000. That's excessive. Whereas if we look at the cost of putting in a single freight station, it's only $300,000. And it's a fairly flat run from, the logging camp to here, and we can have a simple flat iron crossing here rather than having to build a bridge. And we'll have check signals far away, which means that the mainline trains can reserve the track earlier and the other ones can't, which is what we want ideally. Yeah, but anyway, we need money. Money. That is what we need. As you can see, profits are now very high indeed. Had high investment in vehicles last year, but we really are doing well this year. Really are. It's about letting the network run. York to Selby is really doing quite well. Even Selby Thirsk is still... York to Selby is doing well, and even the York Thirsk session is not doing completely terribly in terms of passenger numbers. It's not great, but it is kind of an extension to the main line rather than the main York to Selby section. If we look at passengers going to Hull, there is actually through traffic all the way along the network now that the track is as long as it is, and now that the trains are as fast as they are. I mean, we might be looking at increasing all-up train weight going to Hull. I keep saying Whitby. It's not Whitby. Whitby isn't even on the map. Whitby isn't even on the map. It would be here, I think. Like, no, Whitby is not even on the map. Stop. Okay. There we go. Repay another... So that gives me 2 mil. Now, for my money, 2 million is... So I could... So... Where would we get the coal? The Scarborough Steel Mill. Where is the nearest... Because there's a coal mine there at Hull. I could bring... Now that would actually be something I could do. And then I could ship that to the York's Machines factory as well. But again, I am kind of sat here and I'm going... Yeah, I could do that. But Northallerton is right here. And building an extension to Northallerton would be very easy for me to do indeed. In fact, I can pay for the station right now. Very, very easy for me to do in the extreme. Have a bus station. There we go. Bring the buses into Northallerton. There we go. Now, obviously, with the rising cost of track, this is a little bit of an investment, but it's an investment I am actually fairly confident that it will pay off. For one thing, I can take out a 500,000 loan, which I can use to double track the station here. At. There we go, and then we want a footbridge. And we want overhead roofs. There we go. Ain't it lovely? So what we can now do is we can say that that is no longer end of track. That is now another leg on the journey. However, with the short distance to Northallerton Station, because it is not a long way, we're going to have trains passing not cleanly in the middle as they have been doing so far. So, therefore, with that in mind, what we need to do is ensure that we extend the passing loop at that end, and actually, you know what, possibly just tie in the entire... Yeah, it's going to confuse the trains for a second, but we'll put in a crossover anyway, because it'll come in... Hang on, fucking... There we go. It'll come in very handy indeed for train movements we might have to do in future. So having that available is no bad thing indeed. There we go. So what we do now is we then go, okay, the train line that runs up. So from Thirsk, it goes up to Northallerton, then back down into Thirsk, and then bada bing, bada boom, we have extended the East Coast main line yet again, and also we've double-tracked the section from York to Thirsk, which is very nice indeed. However, we have added 2 additional stops, which means we need 2 additional trains. And we're going to take out the money for it. Shit, we don't have enough. Well, we can add it. We can add another additional train to the run. And that does leave me with enough money left over to actually put the buses into Northallerton. So that is very nice indeed. There we are, the Northallerton buses. 7 buses in Northallerton. That means that we now have... where are we? So you should be, I think, yeah, you are, yeah, you're that color. Right, there we go. And yeah, there we go. So beautiful. There you are. Absolutely first class. We now have a service that runs through to Northallerton, and already a train is arriving to take advantage of that service. It's about 1,000 cost for one of these trains, so we just have to save up the cost for that, which shouldn't be too hard given we've put another service on the line. Although what it does mean is we now need to rejig the end unbunching station, which is now Northallerton. There we go. Although I am questioning... Yeah, because our trains are now starting to catch each other. So it's alright, don't worry. Unbunching will take... Oh no, that's the new train. That's fine though, it's not a problem. When they get to Northallerton, they'll all start to unbunch. It's fine. And there we go. Train arriving into... And that provides another town that we serve. It's all part of the plan. Extend the main line, serve more towns, bring people to the train station, let them catch a train for an onward journey. And I mean, end-to-end journey time, you're talking... Ooh, very nice. Very nice. Look at that. That's actually some proper early freight power. That's what that is. That's some proper early freight power. Not as powerful as the other planets, but we do have now something with more attractive effort, but equivalent horsepower. So that's your early freight engines right there. That is your early freight engines right there, the Samsons. Still not as cheap to run as the... No, they're not as cheap to run as the rockets, which is annoying, but hey-ho, it is what it is. There we go. I'm actually noticing there is actually a great deal of demand for shuttle services now in York. There may actually be demand in York, given the amount of people using the actual buses. Well, buses, coaches, omnibuses, whatever you want to call them. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Ah, whoops, I accidentally did the wrong trackage, but that's fine. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Now, we didn't actually extend the... Ooh, I didn't extend the double track. Okay, we need to put in a passing loop. Luckily, we have money saved up for that exact purpose. Not a problem. Not a problem. We'll put in a short passing loop just there. Just so that if trains need to pass, they can. See, what I really need to do is actually cut out that little section of single track there. That's fine, though. I can literally do that right now. That's not a problem. That is not a problem at all. We can cut that out. There we go. Look at that. Ain't it beautiful? Jolly good indeed. And now we really are raking in the money. We'll soon be able to afford another train for the main line, which is now actually really raking. It's still not raking in the dough because it hasn't quite established itself as the new end-to-end point-to-point tracking jet. In fact, it's actually losing money now compared to making it. Yeah, I probably shouldn't add another... There we go. Yeah, there we are, because now that means they'll pass like that. That's perfect. And then they should meet there-ish. Yep, there we go. Perfect. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Separation is about what you'd expect. Perfect. Meet at Selby, take on passengers, and carry on. And now pick up some drop-offs from North Allerton. So that was the goal I went for, was the run up to North Allerton. That was the main plan. So that's part 1 done. You'll notice there is also a branching track here. That is or was for the main line to the south. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's probably more in line with what, well, I was actually set up for a run to Doncaster. But I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to make that work? So I'm thinking I'm actually going to move the Whitby line into a bay platform or a third platform so that I can expand line 1 further south. There we go. See, now I have the money, I can actually afford to finish the expansion of line 1 and add the final train required to bring it up to full operational capacity. And there it is. And we need the capacity because of the way the line is expanding. And there goes the main line. So yeah, the basic premise of the plan is this. So there we go. We have a new standard track. Then you tie the Whitby line into that. Sorry, the Whitby. Hull! Not Whitby. Hang on, which is... Oh, wrong one. There we go. Obviously, try and keep the connecting track if you can. But don't... Because you never know, it might be useful for well, obviously we'll need it for through traffic later. But for now, we don't need it. And it's standing in the way of the plans to run trains to Doncaster, which are still my plans. I'm going to put a crossover there because it's good to have in case I need it. I shouldn't need it right now, but it's good to have in case I do need it. But yeah, so that's the plan. This is the East Coast main line now. This will be the main line that will ideally run local trains all the way up from London to Edinburgh. That is the plan. Now, the run to Doncaster's really, it's flat as a pancake. It's so easy. Like, this is the thing. I think it's basically going to depend, especially in the early period, on what the gradients are we're dealing with. So for now, the stiffest climb is the climb up to North Allerton. It's the heaviest gradient our trains actually have to stomach right now, and it's not that steep. Yeah, if we can add another coach to the trains from Hull to Selby, that's probably what we should do. Bring them up to 40 capacity, just because we are getting that level of transfer traffic now. That's where we are. And of course, I do eventually plan to open a Hull to Grimsby ferry boat, so there's that traffic to consider as well. And if we have passengers transferring from ferries from Hull to Grimsby, then, you know, it's... And then getting on the train... And again, I'm also considering... I'm still considering this tunnel idea. Cost about $1 million to dig that tunnel. It still wouldn't get you... Yeah, 'cause it is a gradual downward grade, but it would be shallower than not actually taking the hill at all. Because it has to go up and then down the other side, whereas at this point you don't have to. Maybe a cutting instead, like maybe instead of that sort of curve there that like balloons outwards, if we cut straight through, that would flatten. It would flatten the gradient a bit and wouldn't cost nearly as much. Of course, I had to do that because I was following the curvature around. That at least does flatten the gradient somewhat. Not perfectly, but it flattens it somewhat. With a cutting. Yeah, there is definitely demand. Not just for people going to and from Hull and Selby, which definitely there is. But there's also demand for through traffic heading north. People crossing the platform to board trains on what is, you know, becoming the East Coast Main Line. Now, of course, as part of this series and the way in which I'm planning to run it, if you have any suggestions you want to leave for the live stream on Sunday, then leave a comment down below. If you have a suggestion for the recorded series while we're live, drop a message in chat. And of course, same thing when the live streams are released as VODs in the same playlists as this. So, again, same thing. Yeah, trains are definitely getting heavier. They are definitely getting heavier on the main line. Passenger numbers are definitely increasing. And that's without even the breakthrough to Doncaster yet. Oh, that's a bit of a... But yeah, so there we go. Cracking on as best we can. So we've got... The problem we're limited with right now is a lack of coaches that can handle the higher speeds of some of the locomotives we have access to. Some of the rocket variants can break 40 miles an hour, which we don't have anything that even comes close to actually, you know, any coaches that come close to actually breaking that barrier. We'll have to see how the 1830s roll on and see how well we do. But yeah, the next plan is Doncaster. Break through to Doncaster. Once we've got Doncaster tied in, we'll do the Grimsby Ferry. Grimsby to Hull Ferry. I'll have it docked there, then we'll run a fast tram service to and from the port and Hull station. Okay, passenger numbers on the Hull line have somewhat decreased, which is a bit interesting. I mean, I'm happy they've got the slack capacity, don't get me wrong. But it is a little bit concerning. Sorry, disconcerting, I should say. There we go. Never mind. Yeah, there we go. There was only a momentary slack. Okay, how much have we got? We've got 1,500 banked away. Let's get a good lump sum in, and then we'll see about... Yeah, let's look at costings. So, a passenger ferry terminal for large ships, because that's what we want, will set us back about... That's already 1,200 gone already. Just for that. A depot will set us back 45... Yeah, so yeah, we need a depot first, because we need to know exactly what the cost of the ships will be, plus the 2 ferry terminals. So yeah, let's get that squared away. Okay. So, what have we got? Riggy, a schooner, a yawl, a 2-masted schooner, and a paddle steamer. It's going to be a schooner, because I don't know if we're going to have enough to justify having a riggy on it, but we're having a pair of riggies on it. We also need, to be fair, okay, so that's, okay, I reckon we can make this work. Okay, so, small terminal, okay, oh yeah, okay, well, we'll go to a small, we're only going to use small ships. We've got a small terminal there. And we got a small terminal there. Okay, that's nice and easy. Then we want 2 things. So we want a mixed terminal for trams and buses. Because we're going to link in the bus line as well as the tram line. So the tram line, which isn't electric yet because we don't have electric trams, will follow a dedicated tram roadway. Sorry, a dedicated tramway. There we go, and then pivot to link in there like that, and that is the dedicated tramway. So first thing we do is we look at the whole bus line, and we go, okay, between Victoria Street and so we probably want another set of bus stops just in between there, just so that they've got something to stop at. So after Victoria Street, there's a stop at Park Road, Hull Branch, and then back at Park Road again. So that means that's 1, 2, 3 additional stops, which means they need 3 additional buses. There we go. Then there we go. Tram line. So we go from Hull Branch to Park Avenue. And we probably want about, yeah, 4 trams doing that with a nice dispersion on them. So the service is pretty regular. And that will be one of the first non-train things that we timetable. There we go. So the next thing to do while we have the money is to get these 2 schooners bought. So what you need to do is from Hull Port to Grimsby Port. There we go. The next thing to do is to build a bus terminal at this end. So first things first, we need a bus a bus depot. Then we need a bus station. Only one platform required. No tram track. There we go. And then we just need a few bus stops up and down the city. There we go. This is one of the more ambitious extensions I have done. I mean, 11 buses. Well, 11 stagecoaches, being technical, but yes. There we go. And then the last thing I need is, because the timing of the ships does really matter, we need to make sure that they are timed very, very tightly indeed. Okay, I don't... Yeah, those... Yeah, good lord. No, sorry. The colouring on those ships, good god. No, 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 no. No, god, no. That's better. So this is the basic premise. Now, it is a little bit of an ask to ask passengers to make that journey and transfer completely, but they do have a choice of a fast tram service to and from the port or a slow bus. Either way, it provides them with an option, and it does look like people are actually going to use it. Again, you were actually ordered to make sure you were timetabled, and you haven't. That's really annoying. And you can take passengers, right? I've not got that wrong. No, you can take passengers. That's not something I've forgotten. Yep, and now people are starting to actually get on board with the idea of the ferry service, which is very good indeed. It does feel nice when a plan actually comes together. And there may actually be more we can do here. For example, there is a oil well there and an oil refinery here. Ah, the Berry 440 and the Wilberforce. Excellent. Two nice early heavy freight engines, which are very useful to have indeed. And now we are on... And now we're bunching our trams so that they have the tram route very well organized indeed. There we are. We'll have to see how the ferry service actually does. And again, I am asking myself, why? Why are you not timetabled? You were ordered to be timetabled. Why are you not? Like, if I close that window down and I open it up again and you're... There we go. Yeah. You are timetabled. Please remain timetabled. If you are not timetabled, this doesn't work. And here comes the train. Hopefully now with the connection to Grimsby via Thea, this hopefully does mean that we will actually have... We'll have to see how many passengers actually choose to take the tramway connection to and from the port. Okay. Timetable. Okay, good. You are still timetabled. Good. Very good indeed. That is going to mean that everything is as it should be. We are looking at about the maximum capacity these ships can take, so they may have to be upgraded to paddle steamers at some point in the not-so-distant future. But we shall see. But for now, they are still coastal schooners in that classical British style. Yeah, it does look like the flow is going to be such that being paddle steamered is going to be something they're going to need to have happen. But we will get there when we get there. And of course, even though it's quite unlikely given the distance involved and the slow speed of the trains, this may actually attract people from as far afield as York to take advantage of the ferry service. But we'll have to see. And there we go. And bada bing, bada boom, just like that, every run. They are making the profit. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. They don't have to make much. The whole point of this ferry service is basically to be a link in the chain for passenger travel. That's the whole premise of it. There we go. Yeah, passenger numbers are up. And we need to very rapidly keep an eye on things, making sure that everything doesn't get ahead of me. Because that will be the real problem if it does. But yeah. So some of the log places are starting to close down. Like I said, the whole plan is long term. It's all about getting through. So with these sessions, it's all about getting through about an hour's worth of playtime, seeing where we get in that time, then taking stock and moving on. With the live streams, it's about getting through a full decade of play. That being the premise. I mean, and even in only the time we've had, we've done very well indeed. I mean, profitability is up across the board in a big way. Yeah, basically anything that's queuing is not actually making money. It's just stood there. My plan is to try and break through to Doncaster and have that extension added to the main line before we actually finish this recorded session. At least that is the plan. I'm going to need about 7,000 for that, 1,000 for new track and infrastructure, and about 2,000 for new trades. For the extension. It is a bit weird. But still, the ferry runs have settled into a quite reasonable... Yeah. No, actually they're alright. They are actually A-okay doing the runs they're doing. Lovely jubbly. Meet at the middle. Bob's your uncle. How's your father? Jobs are good. Excuse me. There we are indeed. Lovely jubbly. Okay. So. There we are. Look at that. Ain't it lovely? It is nice to actually have things going my way for once, although I am looking at the Grimsby side of the network, and I am thinking to myself, this might be worth, given the importance of it, stumping up, basically accepting the loss in revenue, but just because of the nature of the transit we want to do, just accepting this slight increase in operating cost, and just stumping up the cash for the most powerful omnibuses we can get, just because the ability to move people through this city, given how many people actually want to travel around it, is seemingly beyond the current capabilities of our much smaller coaches. Whereas with double-decker omnibuses and the flat nature of the town, we may actually be able to do it. Yeah, I don't know if there are any people who do want to travel onwards by train. It's actually an interesting thing. Does anyone want to travel onwards by train? Let's have a look. So to Hull, that's that. Let's see. Selby. Is there anyone who wants to travel on by train? Because that's the real test. If they're willing, they are. Yes, people are willing to take the tram and board a train from Hull to Selby. That is actually working. So as the ferries get faster, that interchange will become more and more convenient. And I think there may actually be a call for paddle steamers, given the rate at which... Yeah, I think there is actually a definite call for paddle steamers, especially as we really are feeding more people into Grimsby Port right now. Yeah, there really is a call for that. Absolutely. Oh yeah, people do want to travel on by both tram and bus. Like, absolutely they do. There we go. And so what we're going to do is I also do have another plan I want to do, which is another stop. And then we're going to have another chord. So we're going to go with a new bus line through the center of Hull that doesn't really tie into any of the others, but just provides a central chord to the whole transit network and is worked by big omnibuses. And runs from what is becoming the Hull interchange, basically. Talking about a 14-stop bus line, that is not an insignificant bus route at all. That is not insignificant. That is a chunk of change. Even to buy the cheap buses, then upgrade them, it's still 300,000. Now, to be fair, our cash flow is to a point where I can go, yeah, that's viable. But still. And again, I need to look at our other cities and go, are there any... Yeah, so for example, in York, another bus route's probably needed to hoover up more people. Hoover up, honestly, listen to me. There we go. So you guys will work on the new Hull bus route, and then same thing here. So looking at Selby, Selby is fairly normal, but we are gonna create a new bus route in Selby, basically running the opposite way to the current one. Basically providing another link in the chain. Basically, we're going to try and hoover up as much of the passenger traffic in these various places that we actually serve as we physically can. Oh. So yeah, hoover up as much of the new passenger traffic as we can. Same thing here in York. So again, I see an opportunity here to serve the outskirts of the city, then the inskirts, then up through here. Bus stops there, and then basically you're also serving the cities as they grow. Which is important. It's something it's something that always catches me out every time in every Transport Fever game I play, and this time I am going to try and not let it catch me out. So there we go. Another new bus line serving York. Again, same thing with Thirsk. We didn't really serve the entire city in the best way we could have. But that's fine. That's not a problem. Again, another 4 buses. Northallerton, I did a good job of actually serving. Yep, so that's more buses for me. Well, buses, stagecoaches, call them what you want. Yeah, Northallerton's actually pretty well served. Not much missing coverage there. Oh, an early patent. Now that is something very much well worth the asking for. That, my friends, that is something that is actually very much going to be worth my while. Actually, it's okay. It's actually less. Okay, it's actually less powerful than the planets, which is a bit annoying. But actually, it is less powerful than the planets. But because it's less powerful than the planets, but actually does 32 miles an hour, it's actually precisely the engine I've been looking for to actually take over working trains on the East Coast Main Line. It's got that increase in power I've been looking for. Over the, and it's also got a 1 mile an hour increase in overall top speed as well. Okay, so that's pretty good. We've got fairly full paddle steamers working back and forward now, which is good. That's very good indeed. We got the new buses doing the work, providing the links. These new buses are actually doing fairly well for the most part. And we're actually closing in on the ability to actually build the line to Doncaster. So let's actually... So how much have we got? Okay. Let's wait for our next cash flow. Then we'll take out a loan and we'll build the line to Doncaster. And that's when we will call it. With the inauguration of the line to Doncaster. There we are. Yeah, there we go. Now passenger numbers are up. It'll make you wonder. Yeah, most of our other routes are actually doing fairly well indeed. the New York line in particular is actually... It's not as cost-effective as I'd like, but it is making sure that no passenger are not hoovered up by the system. Which is the whole point. Make sure that everyone gets to the railway stations to catch their trains on time, every time. Which is the whole point. As the cost of having extra buses is fairly minuscule. Whereas the cost of putting a railway station at every single house is, well, extortionate in the extreme. And that paddler's just dropped off its contingent of people who are now walking through to the stops for the various bus lines. Some taking the tram, some hopping on the normal local Hull bus, and some going for the new bus that serves the intercity bus route, well not intercity, the inner city hub bus route. Which is absolutely fine, and that's as designed. Okay, that is enough. Let's actually see about building this new section of the East Coast Main Line. So, here we are. 1833 is the year the railway came to Doncaster. So again, same thing as before, we start with a single track station, since this is the new end of track. There we go, build a direct line. Costs us very little. There we go. So, how much do these trains cost? They've got to cost about $1 million, haven't they? Are we actually even reaching our passenger? No, we're not. Okay, so what if I... Alright. So what if we shorten them to 24 capacity? None of them are actually carrying that right now. And that should buy me enough for another pair of engines, right? Yes, indeed. Which is what I needed. And then what we do is we say, okay, your first stop is no longer Selby. Hang on, so there we go. So the train starts in Doncaster. Then it goes to Selby. And it goes past York. And it comes back through Selby. Why is train 4 telling me it's got no path? It's going to Thirsk. You're alright. Don't worry about it. And that's the new line. I'm not actually happy with the connectiveness of the terminus at Donny, so we're going to actually put a proper bus stop in, just so that we've actually got the terminus covered. There we go. And then same thing as before. Give us a depot. Jolly good. Then boost line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 buses. And we are now actually, for the first time, heading south towards London. There we go, he knows where he's going now. And here we are, first train over the new metals. Very nice indeed. He's left the doors open. Somebody call the guard. And we've still got 500 spare to put away in the bank. That's lovely. We've actually connected through to Doncaster. That's amazing, and I love it. We've actually got our main line that stretches all that way. That's great. It's only 1833. We might actually be in London by 1830. Hey, if we can be in London by 1840, I mean, that would be an achievement. That would really, really push, you know, really push what we could achieve. And then once we've got that main line set up, we can start really start digging in with freight work. There we go, and then that goes in there like that. Which actually means that the trains have pretty much unbunched themselves, which is not what I had planned, but it's definitely worked. It also does mean that people from Doncaster can now travel north. And if they want to, board a transfer at Selby, and board a train for Hull, and hop on the Hull tram ferry, and then, through that, hop on a ferry to Grimsby. The network's all coming together, and I leave you with this view of the interchange, with the ferry from Grimsby arriving, and trams and buses, coaches, stagecoaches, omnibuses, whatever you want to call them, moving in and out. Who knows, maybe one day we'll actually have a railway here. You never know. Boat trains could become popular enough that I might need it. But with that, thank you all for watching. I hope you all had a fantastic time, and I'll see you all. If you are a ramblings enjoyer, excuse me, I'll see you all on tomorrow for catch-up ramblings, and if you are a enjoyer of Bleat's live streams, I'll see you all on Sunday, hopefully, and this time I promise. No illnesses, I think, are going to crop up. We should be fine. On Sunday for the continuation of this game. Take care, and I'll catch you all next time on the Race to the North. Bye-bye.